Incredible. All right, so let's go first to the veracity of this issue, Jesse, of the potential. I don't know about you, but I have never once, and I've walked down the beach a lot, I have never in my life come upon a political statement on the beach made out of sea life. So I find this to be a bit too coincidental. Put up this one. There's another one on his Instagram feed as well. This one, another blue painted shell that he found in October of 2024 when he was walking down the beach. Vote Harris. And he posted this as well. And he said, Ariel understands the assignment.
Yeah,
so
he's not on the beach in San Francisco,
these are being constructed by James Comey with his little shells and then he takes the picture or not?
Dust the shells for Prince, Martha. I don't know if he made it or not. He obviously was trying to put a hit out on Trump, got caught, deleted it, and he's got a book out. Oh, what a coincidence. Any cop, any prosecutor knows the code for homicide. 8-6 isn't just a mafia slang, it's a military slang. 8-6, T-O, and a rotary phone. He was a Marine. He obviously knew what he was doing here. And he's not just any old FBI director, Martha. He tried to frame this guy for treason. Remember, he spied on his campaign. He got caught, got fired, leaked, and then ran away from Durham so he wouldn't have to answer any questions. He has called Trump a dangerous threat to the country who should be punished for the things he says. Now, I don't know if this guy wants attention for the book. And by the way, the book is about right-wing extremists who launch a terror attack in Manhattan, or if he wants to be arrested, because his life sucks. He's lost all his respect. No one likes him. And he's probably dying and goading the administration to put him in handcuffs because that's all he really has anymore going for him. This man has set the Democrats back again. Everybody with common sense knows what this guy meant. Just like we knew it was MS-13 on the knuckles, Jessica. Everybody knows 86-47. So the whole country sees this, and then they lie about it. And then this is the guy that weaponized the entire Justice Department against President Trump. And it just reminds everybody the lengths the Democrats will go to lie. Meanwhile, Trump, he's trying to make peace. And this guy's calling for his head. I hope the Secret Service knocks on his door at his little beach house and pays him a visit, because this can't stand. After 2 attempts on Trump's life, you can't take this lightly.
I hope they figure out if his hands were just all over those shells, painting them.
Is there sand in your fingernails, Comey? Let me see your fingernails.
Jessica Tarlov, I mean, this is strange. This is strange behavior. It's like weirdly childish, the stuff he posts. When you go back and look at the way he posts things, I mean, he's out of a job. He can live any way he wants. He's writing this book. He's been writing novels. But what do you think about the fact that he was, willing to post this thing, which is such and then pretend like he doesn't know what it means?
It was really stupid, but it is also First Amendment protected speech. And 86ing, I'm not as familiar with the mafia lingo, but I do know what happens in restaurants when they say like 86 the meatloaf, and that means they're out of meatloaf. I also know that if you go on Amazon, you can find tons of swag that says 8646, which I guess in Jesse's terms was about kill Joe Biden. I know on Donald Trump's Truth Social feed that I saw that video with Joe Biden hogtied in the back of a truck, which I'm pretty sure means, don't treat him with respect, that the office.
But it wasn't the FBI director who was doing that stuff.
Well, it was actually the former president of the United States and a candidate to be president of the United States again, amplifying something like that. Matt Gaetz has tweeted about 86ing. Right-wing activists have done 8646, and now they're totally outraged. But I'll cycle back. Really stupid. It's not up there, and I have 11 days before the election coming out and saying that they're reopening the investigation into Hillary Clinton to be the most stupid, and that did actually cost her the election in the end in 2016. But James Comey has bothered me once again. It is leading every cycle. I wanted to come in and talk about the big, beautiful bill failing in the House Budget Committee, and now I have to talk about Comey. So mission accomplished that way, but it was just dumb.
Let's play this from Tulsi Gabbard with Jesse last night. Watch.
I believe Comey should be in jail.
I do. Any other person with the position of influence that he has people who take very seriously what a guy of his stature, his experience, and what the propaganda media has built him up to be, I'm very concerned for the president's life. We've already seen assassination attempts. I'm very concerned for his life. And James Comey, in my view, should be held accountable and put behind bars for this.
So, Greg, what do you think should happen?
I don't know. I think you don't throw him in jail. You just kind of look. He went to the beach because he's all washed up. The thing I like is how the dying media is portraying this story as conservatives pounce on this. Oh my God, they're making it out into something it really isn't. You guys invented the pounce. You know, Elon Musk makes a salute. You spent a week on that, talking about how that was Hitlerian and how all Trump supporters were Nazis. The only exercise the media gets is by pouncing. So we're going to pounce a little. You guys hit the showers. The people who pounce every day on every little thing Trump has said and created hoaxes off nothing, do not lecture us on blowing things out of proportion. There's so many people whose identity is tied forever to Trump, but it's their choice. It's not like Trump spends his life thinking about this chuckle nut. This guy has Trump on the brain all the time. Trump has created a legion of people whose brains are somehow broken. And I said this, I think, yesterday. If the filter that you have to see life constantly has you waking up with disappointment and bitterness, you should probably change your filter. You know, Jesse,
yes.
Someone once said, holding on to a grudge is like drinking poison, hoping it kills the other person. I think it was either Nelson Mandela or Ryan Seacrest. But you see this. But you see this among never Trumpers. The first thing they do every morning is they drink the poison. You know, and by the way, I don't begrudge Democrats. I don't think Jessica's like this. Sports is, politics is a team sport. So your guy lost. You don't like the guy who won. I see these grudges more on people on the right, never Trumpers, who have so much negative emotion that it impacts the way they look at everything and their own well-being. They have to learn from, like, this guy is definitely stuck with a broken Trump brain. And when you're on the beach making little stones, you got a problem. You look at, like, Bill Maher. When Bill Maher went to visit Trump, there's one thing you knew. Both of them felt a little emotionally lighter afterwards. There's something about doing that makes you feel better. You got to let go of these crazy. I mean, I don't care. He can do whatever he wants. He can write my name in stones. I don't give a damn. But he's just ruining his own mind and his own life.
You know, Emily, there were 2 assassination attempts against the president, and you know, stuff on social media does fire up weirdos and whack jobs, and it's possible that this kind of thing from Comey could, you know, make someone want to do something terrible, because we've seen it. We've seen it happen twice already.
Of course. He's in a position of persuasion. He's in a position of authority. He carries that title forever. I don't even like a post. I may crack up. I do not like a post if I think it would reflect poorly on the brand I represent at all times. It's so shocking to me. It's obvious that he's an odd duck. And I feel like that's where social media sort of like sucks, is when it gives everyone the voices that they're just weird. And you're like, oh, like the selfies he takes of himself. It just underscores that this wasn't, frankly, a normal person we've been dealing with, regardless of his high stature position. But look, here's the thing.
That's a great one.
I literally have like the same picture of me in like my cheerleading outfit. So I talked to my friend. He's a longtime presidential Secret Service agent, right? He was Hinckley's case officer, Jeff James. And he talked to me about that they investigate every threat. So the concept that there's somehow a question of whether this should be investigated, that's not the question. The question is whether it's actionable. And he talked to me about so many threats. You know, they show up at some guy's house in central Pennsylvania. He doesn't even have 2 nickels to rub together. He has a rusty shotgun he shoots squirrels with for dinner. But they had to investigate, and upon arriving, realized, all right, his threats are full of crap, right? An inmate at a state prison that wanted to be transferred to federal prison. That's why he was threatening the president. But the Secret Service shows up. So Jeff Comey better wait for a knock at the door, because I know my tax dollars are going to be spent wisely. And at the end of the day, they'll just realize, oh, sorry, this is just some idiot's house, and it's not actionable. But final point real quick. President Trump, the amount that he has been indicted emotionally and specifically for his comments to incite others. So his comment, we will never give up, that was considered incitement. Well, then I think this is pretty dang close.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.